All right, let's try this again. I was having some technical difficulties, but here we are, guys. So, welcome to this chat about hair loss and weight loss and what does that look like. There has been an increasing number of people that I have seen, and I just said rather than later, let's go ahead and have the conversation. Let's have this dialogue. So, I'm going to wait a little bit, let you guys come in the room. Say hello, tag a friend. Um, let's see. I'm gonna tag some people. All right. So some of you are probably not used to seeing me in this capacity because you probably always see me in ministry or coaching. However, the first thing that I've ever or what I started out doing, however, was hair. I've been doing hair for the last 21 years. I do have a hair salon. I have a hair loss clinic. I've had been specializing in hair loss for the last 5 years. So I'm a trichologist, which is someone that pretty much studies and works with hair loss, right? And I'm a holistic practitioner as well. And so I'm ex- I'm ready to have this conversation because I feel like it's something that we need to talk about. So listen, I'm just gonna go for it. When you guys hop in, hop in. If you're watching the replay, say I'm catching the replay. But I want to have this conversation because hair loss is one of it's something that people struggle with. A lot of people struggle with this in secret. They're not always open about hair loss. However, hair loss and weight loss, whether it's a diet, whether it is the shots, the surgery, whatever the case may be, has been something that has been increasing over the last couple of years. And I think because people have become more knowledgeable or they're able to get their hands on the shots now. I think because they're able to get their hands on the pills, there are a lot of different like medical clinics now that are able to offer a lot of these medications. However, they're not always giving people the knowledge that they need to understand all of the things that it's going to affect as it pertains to their hair. All right. So we're going to just dive into this conversation today. Let's see. All right. So, first things first, I want you guys to know that alopecia is the general medical term for any type of hair loss. All right. So, whether you're experiencing thinning, whether you have bald spots, whether you have um, a large spot, small spot, anything that what I want to say, anything that is like where your hair is coming out is considered alopecia. All right. So a lot of times people come in and say, I think I have alopecia or I don't have alopecia. But if you're experiencing any type of shedding, if you're experiencing any type of thinning and any type of balding, any type of spots, then it is considered alopecia. All right. However, there are different types of alopecia. All right, there's so many different types of alopecia. I'm not going to talk about all of them today because I'm only going to talk about one of them. All right, but there are different types of alopecia. And so you have to go to the doctor or go to a trichologist for you to understand what type of alopecia that you have. So, what we're going to talk about today is weight loss, right? What does weight loss have to do with hair loss? And so, the most common, as it pertains to weight loss, the most common type of alopecia we're going to see is called telogen effluvium. Okay. And so, that is where there is a temporary type of shredding, shred, shedding, sorry, that you're going to experience, whether it's stress, illness, major weight loss, surgery, or childbirth. So, a lot of times, women they have babies, and a lot of times they lose their hairs, particularly around the hairline. That is considered telogen effluvium, and that is a type of hair loss. Okay. A lot of times when people are stressed, right? They're going to experience some type of shedding. People that have had surgeries, a lot of times you experience this type of shedding. And so telogen effluvium is not a longer lasting, I should say, type of hair loss. It is a temporary hair loss, right? But only if the underlying issues are resolved. So most women, because after they have a baby, right, their hormones have to adjust to the fact that they're no longer carrying a baby. So because their hormones are adjusting to the fact that they're no longer carrying a baby, they will experience shedding. They will experience hair loss, right? But because the condition typically will address itself, your body will typically go back to it, to the way it's supposed to be, then a lot of times that's why the hair begins to grow back. But if you do not address the underlying issue, then your hair is going to struggle with coming back. So let's first talk about diet changes. All right, diet changes. So when you drastically change your eating habits, you are cutting calories, carbs, and proteins your body may need. Right, so you're cutting out things that your body might need, which causes your body to go into what we would call a nutrient deficiency, right? So you talk about people that have deficiencies, right? So the hair is not a vital organ. I tell my clients this all the time. Your hair is not a vital organ. So when nutrients are limited, the body will redirect its sources to the essential functions, right? So the heart, the brain, the liver, and your hair growth is going to be put on pause. So a lot of times when we are starting out, these diets, and I'm not even talking about getting into the pills and all the kind of stuff, just regular dieting. A lot of times we're cutting calories. A lot of times we're cutting carbs. A lot of times we're cutting out protein. So you have to be mindful when you go on these diets, what you are taking out of your diet. What are you removing from your diet? Making sure it's not something that you need. And if it's something that you're taking out, make sure that you are replacing it with something else. All right. So, what are the impacts of changing your diet? So protein deficiency. So, hair is made up of keratin, right? Which is a protein. So, if you're not eating enough protein, your hair becomes weak and it may fall out. So that's number one. You're not getting enough protein. I know you've heard your doctor say it time and time again. You're not getting enough protein, right? Iron, zinc, and biotin deficiencies, right? So if you're not getting it, again, if you're not eating raw, if you're not eating well, if you're not eating the things that you need to eat, you're gonna risk being iron, zinc, or biotin deficient, right? Which are some of the key things that you need to have healthy hair. So many diet plans lack those. All right. Another big thing is just the sudden changes. So even switching to a healthy diet too quickly can shock your system, leading to temporary hair shedding, which is what I told you guys earlier, which is telogen effluvium, right? So if you are on a diet, right, I highly suggest, and I'm going to say this throughout the night, I highly suggest when you are dieting that you are under a doctor's care. I'm going to say that again. If you are deciding that you want to be on a diet, if you are changing your eating habits, if you're taking certain foods out of your diet, I highly suggest that you go see a doctor. All right. You should be under doctor's care because you could be taking something out of your diet that you don't. So you need to make sure that you're still maintaining a balanced diet. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Listen, I know some of you are like, I've never seen you in this space before. However, I am qualified and this is something else that I do. And I want to help you guys. And I want to make sure that you guys are knowledgeable about these things before you start taking them. I'm not saying it's anything wrong with getting the weight loss shot. I'm not saying it's anything wrong with doing the weight loss surgery. However, you need to be knowledgeable about the side effects of what is happening to your body when you decide to go on diets, when you decide to take the shot, when you decide to do the surgery. Okay. At any moment, if you have a question about any type of hair loss or whatever, feel free to ask your question. All right. So the next one I'm going to talk about is rapid weight loss. Rapid weight loss. So losing weight too fast. So if you are losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, it's going to put stress on your body, right? Then the stress hormone is going to cause your body to disrupt the hair cycle. That's why we say you heard people say stress induced alopecia. It's a real thing because when your body is under stress, it causes your body, again, like I told you earlier, to kick into what is called telogen effluvium, which means your hair is shedding more than what it would normally shed. All right. So telogen effluvium is a condition where the hair shaft, it prematurely goes into a shedding phase, right, leading to noticeable thinning. All right. And this typically happens 2 to 3 months after weight loss. Okay, typically 2 to 3 months after you've spent. So a lot of times when you're in the midst of doing it, you're not always going to see it. But a lot of times, 2 to 3 months in, you'll see it. Same thing with women that have babies. It typically, I'll say between 3 to 6 months after you have a baby, you're going to start to see what we call postpartum alopecia, which is postpartum shedding. All right. And like I said, typically after your body begins to adjust, after your body, gets back to its proper hormonal state, then your body will start, then it will start to restore itself. And that's the same thing with a lot of these diets. Yeah, a lot of times if you repair your diet, if you start to eat right and do different things, then a lot of times it will start to repair itself. But again, if you are removing certain nutrients out of your diet, right? If you're removing certain nutrients out of your diet, I'm telling you, your hair is going to be the first thing to go. All right. Let me speak to y'all men. If y'all got men and y'all know some men, I want y'all to tag them in here really quickly, because one thing that I find that is an issue with men is that men eat horrible because they want to work out. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Men eat horrible because they want to work out. So they be like, I'm just going to work out and I'm going to eat what I want to eat. However, that's not how that works. Because if your body is not getting the nutrients and then you're going to work out, a lot of times that's why you see a lot of men with hair loss. A lot of times too, the working out, the not eating right, it puts stress and inflammation in your body. So what does that do? That triggers your hormones. Okay. So men, you cannot just eat and work out. You're going to have to maintain a balanced diet if you don't want to lose your hair, right? Because men is on the rise. I'm going to do something totally for the men, but this is for everybody right now, because this is for everybody. Okay. So let's talk about weight loss injections, right? I know this has been a conversation that is on the rise right now. Everybody is talking about Seglumatide, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, right? Some of you are taking it right now. Some of you have taken it in the past. Some of you are contemplating taking it right now, right? And so these medications have their proper place, right? Because some people need these medications. I'm not saying that you don't need to be on Mounjaro. I'm not saying that you need to be on Wegovy. However, for the purpose of my job and what I do, I just need to educate you on the hair portion of what that looks like for you. All right. So these are GLP-1 medications, and we know they help to regulate your blood sugar. But what they also do is do what? Suppress your appetite, leading to a significant amount of weight loss. So as it pertains to weight loss injections, we're dealing with two different things. One, we're talking about what I talked about earlier, rapid weight loss. Number two, we're talking about appetite being suppressed, which means you're battling two things. So one, you're going to suffer hair loss because of rapid weight loss. Two, you're going to suffer hair loss because your appetite is suppressed, which means you're not eating enough. So again, I'm not saying don't get on Wegovy. I'm not saying don't get on Mounjaro. And if you want to take it, you want to take it. However, I want you to be knowledgeable of the side effects. All right. However, they often, and I'm not telling you to come off your medications. You consult with your doctor. I just got to tell y'all the truth about what it's going to do to your body. All right. So, however, they reduce your muscle mass and appetite so much that people unintentionally undereat essential nutrients. All right. So you're not getting enough nutrients when you're taking these injections, which then leads to what? Hair loss. Like I told you guys earlier, as it pertains to hair loss and as it pertains to hair growth, your body is going to take care of major organs first. And honestly, this is with life. So if you're eating horrible, right? If you're not eating well, then your body is only going to take in enough to take care of the liver, the brain, the main things, and everything else is going to come after that. The hair is always going to be last. I'll give you guys this tidbit. For those of you that are taking medications, right? You might be taking blood pressure medications. You might be taking anything. On the label, it says hair loss, right? The reason why it says hair loss is because what the medication does to your body. Okay. It's what the medication does to your body. So those of you that are taking blood pressure medicine, you said, man, I'm experiencing hair loss. It's not the medication itself, right? It's what that medication is depleting you of. So if you're not eating right, you're not eating well, and you're taking this medication, you're actually putting even more stress on your body. Those of you that have autoimmune deficiencies, autoimmune diseases, your body is already filled with inflammation. And so by you not eating well, you're just adding stress to your body. And so by your body, by you having stress in your body, what happens is your hair is going to be the last thing. So that's why a lot of things that you see out here, a lot of issues that you're seeing, those of you that are on that had hysterectomies, right, having hormonal issues, you're like, man, what happened to my hair? Because my body is lacking something. It's not getting something that it needs. So again, it's going to show up in my hair. All right. So let's go back to, let's talk a little bit about the shots really quickly. So it causes you to have nutritional deficiencies. Reduced appetites may cause inadequate intake of iron. All right, protein and B vitamins, which are essential for your hair health, right? Did you know that they also shift your hormones? These medications can affect your hormones and create a hormonal imbalance, which then can cause hair thinning. Okay. So those of you that might be already struggling with your hormones, and then now you're taking these medications, whether you're on semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro, now your body is really deficient. So some of you may be suffering from a hormonal imbalance, which a hormonal imbalance then leads to hair thinning. All right. Again, it slows down your digestive system and absorption. So these meds, they slow down your gastric emptying, which may lead to poor nutrition of absorption over time. All right. So that's number two. That is the number three, actually, the weight loss injections. And the last one we're going to talk about is something that is weight loss surgery, right? So weight loss surgery, whether it's the gastric bypass, the sleeve, or the lap band, right? So these surgeries reduce your stomach size, or they reroute your digestion to help with weight loss. All right. So I know that there are some people, and like I said, all of these things are not bad, right? Yes, that's the same. Yep, Olivia, that one too. I'm sorry. Yep, Zepbound, and I don't know how to say. I never had to say the cheap one, but yes, that's another one as well. That is a big one. That's included in that. But yes, so the weight loss surgery, gastric band, and so like I'm saying, some of this stuff I know we need it, we get it. There are moments, there are some people that need to get it. However, let's just have the conversation. So these surgeries, they reduce your stomach. They are a tool that will help you transform your body. However, they also limit your nutrition absorption, right? And so it's hard for you to absorb the nutrients you need after you have had any type of weight loss surgery. All right. Surgeries can limit how well your body absorbs iron, your vitamin B, protein, and zinc. These are again the key nutrients that you need to grow hair. Right. It also puts you in a drastic collegiate deficiency. Right. The body reacts to the surgical shock and nutrient changes by shedding of the hair. So the same thing that happens when you have rapid hair loss, when you have like I said, when you have a baby and you experience that shedding, that's what happens when you have hair loss. However, if you don't deal with the underlying issues, which a lot of people have a hard time dealing with the underlying issues of their shedding as it pertains to weight loss surgery, because of the simple fact that they still cannot absorb the nutrients. So that's why people that have had the weight loss surgery, they may struggle for a longer period of time trying to restore their hair back into its proper state. All right. If anybody has any questions at any time, please feel free to ask. All right. So again, it's going to kick your body into telogen effluvium, where your hair is going to begin to shed. All right. And again, chronic deficiency is huge with weight loss surgery. Why? Because without proper supplementation, long-term hair thinning and brittle nails and skin changes can occur. All right. So what can you do? Let's talk about that. And I'm going to talk about something else like that. So what can you do, right? So if you're taking these medications, If you've had the surgery, if you want to diet, the number one thing to know is I'm always going to tell you, you need to be under a doctor's care. If not a doctor's care, you need to be under somebody, a holistic person, whatever that looks like for you. If you don't want to go to the doctor, I'm not even going to say even a trainer. You need to be under a dietitian. You need to be under somebody that has been trained to know about different body types, blood types, all that kind of stuff. You have to be under somebody that is trained. Don't just start being on a diet. You're like, and now you've pulled everything out of your diet without having the proper knowledge behind knowing what does your body need. All right. Another thing I need you to know is you have to know your body. Right. So sometimes we look online and you see different diets. Sometimes you see the diets that other people are doing. Sometimes, you might see that somebody is doing this to lose weight. However, everybody's body is different, and what works for some doesn't work for everybody. So listen to your body, right? I need you to listen to your body. If something seems off with your body, make sure that you go get seen by the doctor. So again, I want you to aim for 60 to 100 grams of protein per day, and that really depends on your body size and goals. However, again, like I said, you want to consult with the doctor, but typically we're going to say aim towards at least 60 to 100 grams of protein per day. So think about it. If you are on this shot, if you have this surgery, how are you really getting in those 60 to 100 grams of protein per day if you are not able to eat, right? If your appetite is suppressed, it's going to be tough, which means you're going to have to, a lot of times. I just told a young lady today, I had a consultation with her, and I told her, I said, listen, you're going to have to find ways to get your protein in, whether you utilize beans or if you do the protein shakes, whatever that looks like. But I told her, you're going to have to make sure that you get your protein in. It's super important. Thank you, Olivia. I'm glad I got somebody on here tonight. All right. Take your supplements wisely. So iron, biotin, zinc, vitamin D, and B complexes as needed. This is why, again, you have to go to the doctor, because it is a such thing as overtaking supplements. Okay. It's a such thing as overtaking supplements. Sometimes we just go and we just start grabbing stuff. You're looking on YouTube, looking on TikTok, and they're like, go take this supplement and then go take that supplement. But what you don't realize is some of the supplements actually do the same thing. And so if you're taking two supplements that are doing the same thing, you risk your body the same thing with medications, almost like ODing, right? And you can find, and your body can also go into shock with doing that as well. So be very careful and very mindful, and use wisdom as it pertains to taking vitamins and supplements. Go to the doctor and make sure that you get your labs done so you know exactly where you are. All right. Hydrate and rest is huge. Why? Because stress and dehydration and poor sleep can affect your hair health. I know people are like, man, what are you talking about? But I'm telling you the truth, right? Stress, being dehydrated, you don't have enough water, right? The water is what helps with your blood flow. It helps with your organ function, right? So if your organs are not able to function correctly, if your organs are stressed, if your body is stressed, if your body is filled with inflammation, you are going to experience hair loss. All right. Again, work with a dietitian or coach, right, to make sure that you are one, reaching your goals, but also making sure that you're not doing something that could potentially cause your, not just your hair health, but your body to be at harm, right? It's not just about healthy hair, but it's about eating right. When I talk to my clients, I'm not telling them just because I want them to have healthy hair, but you also want to be healthy. So you also don't want to be eating things that you should not be eating, right? You also don't want to be not eating things that you need to eat. So this is why talking to a dietitian is very, very, very important, right? All right. Let's see. Also, one thing about even with having weight loss surgery is that your body goes under an enormous amount of stress. All right. So that's another reason why you might experience hair loss, because your body is under stress. All right. I'm working through this. I just wanted to come on here really quickly because, again, like I said, I've seen an increase, and I just think we just need to know. We just need to have the knowledge. All right. I want to talk about something, and then I'm gone. So I see a lot of people, and they talk about, I'm just going to take biotin, right? And I want to educate you guys, not to deter you, however, just to educate you about biotin, because a lot of times we really don't understand about that, right? So what can biotin do, right? So it can support healthy hair, it can support your skin and your nails, right? If you're biotin deficient, so taking biotin only really works. Well, I ain't gonna say only really works. It only works if you are biotin deficient. But taking biotin if you don't have a deficiency, however, isn't gonna do anything. Loose is a good app to help you track your macros, specifically protein and fat. Y'all make sure y'all pin that, right? Go back and look at that. And that's very, very important, being able to track it. I use my Fitness Pal. That's one of mine. That's my favorite one too. Where I'm able to track protein and fat, sugars, and all the kind of stuff. And it's very important. All right. So biotin, right? So everyone's like, I'm just going to take biotin. If you're not biotin deficient, taking biotin is not going to do anything for you. Okay, I just want to tell you that. I know I just hurt somebody's feelings. However, it's the truth. So some of y'all are like, I'm just going to take biotin. But if you're not biotin deficient, it's not going to work. However, there's some of you that may be biotin deficient because a lot of the foods and things that we need to eat that we're not taking have biotin in them. So this is why I can tell you guys that supplements are not a replacement for food. Right? I'm going to say it again. Supplements are not a replacement for food. You have to eat well. And so some of us, we just want to take supplements and we don't want to eat well. That's not how this works. You have to eat well. And so some of you, if you just alter and change your diet and give your body what it needs, you wouldn't necessarily need to be on supplements. But a lot of us don't give our body what it needs. The only reason why a lot of times supplements should be in place, right, is to supplement, right? To give you something, kind of almost to stand in the gap, right? But the majority of your food should come from, or your nutrients should come from what you eat, which is going to come from eating a well balanced meal. So making sure that you're eating your fruits and your vegetables, and getting your salad in, whatever that looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to make sure that you're eating well. All right. Biotin will help convert food to energy, which indirectly, of course, supports hair health. It plays a role in the keratin infrastructure of which the hair is made up of. All right. What it can't do, let me say that biotin cannot regrow hair from the roots. If the issue is hormonal, good evening. If the issue is hormonal, genetic, or medical. So some people are like, oh, I'm on biotin. But if you're dealing with hormonal issues, genetic issues, medical issues, biotin is not going to help you. All right. It cannot stop hair loss that is caused by stress, medication, thyroid issues, or diets. So if you're on a diet, if you're taking the weight loss injections, if you've had the weight loss surgery, biotin is not going to stop hair loss. It's not going to do anything. Okay. It's not going to deliver overnight results either. Okay. Without consistency, it's going to cause you to have it. You're going to have a level of consistency with taking it in order to see results. But again, taking biotin doesn't do anything for you if you don't necessarily have a biotin deficiency. All right. So again, who actually needs it? Most people get their biotin through foods like eggs, salmon, or nuts, right? But if you need a boost, right, or have been diagnosed with a biotin deficiency, then yes, you can take it. All right. People that are pregnant and breastfeeding, yes. And if you have conditions like brittle nails or skin disorders, biotin is good. All right. However, I'll say it again. If you're dealing with hormonal, genetic, or medical issues, then biotin is not going to do anything. All right. Again, why isn't biotin working? I get that question a lot of times. And this is why there's also a lot of people that are also have I think reactions to biotin. And I think the reason why they're having these reactions is because of the fact that their body doesn't need it. You got too much. So you only want to take biotin again if you need it, and you don't want to take an excessive amount. All right. So it might not be working for you if you're not deficient. So you're taking something that your body doesn't need. All right. The real issue is deeper. If it is a biotin issue, everywhere hair grows will go, not just your head. Yes, absolutely, Olivia. The real issue is deeper, right? So like iron, vitamin D, thyroid imbalance. So if it's not working, then the real issue might be your iron, it might be vitamin D or thyroid imbalance. One of the two major things that I see in my clinic is iron and vitamin D, right? Low iron and low vitamin D will take your hair out. And I think, some people they be like, what? But it does. It causes you to have dry and brittle hair. And so if they're giving you iron pills, if they're giving you vitamin D, make sure you take them. Also, making sure you stay up on your blood work and get your blood work. Okay. I can't tell you guys enough how many times that people have not pulled their blood work and reviewed their own blood work. And I'm not saying you're going to be able to always review your labs. I'm trained to do them. So I can grab people's labs and view their labs and order labs and all that kind of stuff. However, I'm going to tell you to always get your labs and compare your numbers. Google will be your friend. See where you are. If there's something that, and sometimes the issue may be that something is a little bit higher, something might be a little bit lower, right? And something that a supplement can kind of just adjust for you. Sometimes you have to get infusions, just depending upon how deficient you are. But I need you guys to take it serious, and not just for your hair health, for your body health. If your doctor is telling you that you're deficient in iron, or they're telling you have an iron deficiency, or they're telling you have a thyroid imbalance, take it serious. Go to your checkups, do the necessary work. If your doctor is telling you that you're on the verge of high blood pressure, change your eating habits, because then you can get on medication, and now this medication you're taking is causing you to be depleted. Now your hair's falling out. I remember it was a lady that she came in and I did a consultation with her, and she said, my doctor told me that if I would just change what I would eat, that I would not have to be on medication. I said, well, how's it going? She said, it's not going. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I just still eat what I want. And so I just said, well, do you want to be on medication? Because if you're not willing to make the necessary adjustments, the next step is going to be medication. And I don't think that we take high blood pressure serious enough, and we don't really understand what does it really mean to have high blood pressure. Your heart is working overtime, right? And so if your body is already working overtime, why would you feed your body? Why would you feed your body something that's not going to cause it to be well? Same thing with diabetes. Right now, there's some people I know, like if your pancreas just doesn't function, but some of it is the dietary diabetes. You know what I'm saying? And even with that one, you still need to be cautious of what you eat. So I get people that come in there and they're like, my A1C is elevated. My doctor told me that I can control it with diet. However, I'm still drinking Pepsis every day. I'm still eating, whatever I want to eat every single day. So now you went back to the doctor. I'm like, well, what did they say? Oh, they said, that that now they want to put me on a pill. Now my clients went from a pill to a shot, right? And some of these things can be avoided if we eat right, if we eat well. And I'm not saying that the things that we're talking about tonight, whether it's whether you're you're on a diet or whatever the case may be, or whether you decide to do the shot or the surgery, that they're bad things, because I feel like they're tools. However, them being tools cannot be what I want to say. It can't take the place of you still eating right. So those of you that are on the shot and you're doing it for weight loss, let me talk to you guys. Those of you that say, I'm doing it for weight loss, it is not something that you're doing for medical reasons, but you're doing this because you want to lose weight. While you are on the tool, I want you to take it serious. Change your diet. Because the thing about it is that some people say, I take the shot and I still eat what I want to eat. Then you're not learning from it. That's pointless. Why get on the shot and still eat what you want to eat? And so you want to eventually be able to come off of the shot. So because you want to eventually be able to come off of the shot, then you need to eat right and use it as a tool. Being mindful of what you take in, right? Being mindful of what you consume, because it's super important. So again, this is not just about healthy hair. It's about healthy living. You want to be around, I tell my clients, you want to be around to see your grandkids. You want to be around to see your children. And so I'm excited because a lot of times when they do get treated for hair loss, I am a holistic trichologist. So they don't just come to me for micro needling and more intense treatments and needling on the head and different things like that. I just don't do that. But a part of my plan is you have to eat right. Part of being a part of the program means you have to follow a strict diet. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of people that can't follow it. There's a lot of people that fall by the wayside. But there are some that actually take it serious. I've had people that one girl said, she said, I have been back and forth to the doctor. She said, this is the first time I've been to the doctor in years that I actually got a good report. Why? Because I had to force her to, and her hair caused her to have to force her to change her eating habits. I've had people that are no longer on medicine for diabetes, no longer on medicine for high blood pressure. I didn't take them off. Their doctor took them off. Why? Because they did the work. So you got to be willing to do the work that goes beyond this. All of this stuff is wonderful and it's great in its place. However, some of this stuff, I got to be honest, can be avoided by doing the work and being disciplined. I'm not saying I've tried a little bit of everything. Y'all know my story. I'm super transparent. I have tried a little bit of everything. And at the end of the day, regardless of what I have tried, it all boils down to the fact that I got to be disciplined. I got to be disciplined in what I eat. I have to be disciplined in what I do because I want to live a healthy life. And I want you guys to live a healthy life. All right. So that's all I have for y'all tonight. I just wanted to come on and just kind of give you guys a little information. Once I start to see something increasing in the clinic, I try to give you guys as much information as I can. Again, I know some of you are like, I don't really see you in this capacity, and I don't. And I try to balance out. Y'all know I got a lot of jobs. And so I try to do the best that I can to create a level of balance amongst them all because I know that hair loss is a very big issue. Alopecia right now is on the rise. And part of it right now, I'll be honest, I'll say almost 50% of what I'm seeing is coming from weight loss medication. It's coming from fad diets. It's coming from some of these things that you might buy into. Listen, I told you I've tried a little bit of everything, right? And so sometimes you buy into some of these programs where they're providing you with like certain types of food that you have to eat per day and that. But a lot of times it's not fresh. Okay, let's talk about that. It's not fresh. Two, a lot of times it's not providing you with the vitamins. It's not providing you with the nutrients that you need. Greetings, Coach Steele. Okay. So a lot of times it's not giving you what you need. So a lot of times you got to not stay away from, but just be mindful of these fad diets, being mindful of things that you're doing long term. And this is why I'm an advocate for, and I'm saying this and I'm an advocate for lifestyle changes, right? I'm an advocate for lifestyle changes because it's something that you can maintain, not just something you do for a moment. Fad diets are what you do for a moment, right? But if you want to be able to have lasting effects, you have to make lifestyle changes. Okay, lifestyle changes. One of the biggest things I always say is like, man, I want to be well for my assignment. Right. So because I want to be well for my assignment, there's no way I can stand up and do hair and stand for 10 hours a day and I don't eat right. Right. Travel, I got to eat right. So whatever it is you're trying to do, it goes deeper than hair. You have to eat right so that your body can function, so your body can keep up. I was struggling with the hormonal weight loss. Hair started falling out, hair started shedding because of my hormone. I do virtual consultations. I do. But I was that one, my hormones was out of control and it caused my hair to fall out. So I was like, I got to figure it out. And part of my hormonal issue was due to an insulin resistance issue, right? Which everything tracked back to my eating. So I had to learn my body. And so I learned that I needed to eat every couple hours to keep my metabolism going. Now, everybody that don't work for everybody, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. However, it was for me. And that's what I needed to do. So I had to learn myself. I had tried doing what everybody else was doing. We'll do it like this, and don't eat after this time, and don't eat after that time, and you don't eat every 2 hours, and you need to fast until this time. Well, that didn't work for me. So I found what worked for my body, because all of it goes hand in hand. So it was crazy because, um, I had a young lady in the shop, y'all. It is hilarious. I had a young girl come in the shop, and she was a new client, and I did a consultation with her. And so she began to ask me, how can I get healthy hair? And so I began to ask her about her diet. I began to ask her about her eating. And so she was like, I don't eat good. I like sugar. And I said, well, I said, we're going to have to make some adjustments in your diet. Y'all, I'm cracking up because this girl, she yelled out, she said, y'all too strict around here for me. Um, but at the end of the day, she received what I was saying. And she ended up calling her daddy while we were in there. She was like, Dad, we got to eat better. And he was like, what? And so he get on the phone with me. He was like, what do I got to do? And so I'm telling him, he said, that's a demon diet. I said, no, sir. I said, it's not a demon diet. I said, but you got to be better. And he said, you know what? He said, I need to eat better. He said, I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I said, just give me 1 month. And I told her, I said, give me 1 month. Eat like I tell you to eat. And I said, if you don't see no changes, all right, I ain't never going to say nothing to you ever again. I said, but if you begin to see the changes, you're going to understand what I'm trying. So she said, all right, I'm going to give you 30 days. She said, but give me 2 days to eat what's in my house. I said, I'm going to give you 2 days to eat what's in. So what I'm saying is that it's extremely important. And again, you got to be willing to do the work to make those adjustments so that you can have healthy hair. And I think that's what everybody wants, whether you're a man or a woman. Men, they struggle with it just as bad as the women do. But sometimes men are just, they're okay with wearing a hat. They're okay with, you know, walking around, then eventually going bald. Versus us as women, nah, we're not about to do all that. You're like, nah, I'm gonna keep my hair. So that's all I had today. I hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you guys for engaging. Thank you guys for talking. Like I said, this was just a little pop-up that I felt led to do. And I wanted to have this conversation about weight loss and supplements and different things like that so that you guys have a greater and deeper understanding about how your diet affects your hair. And a lot of times people don't make that connection, or they don't even want to make that connection. Let's be honest, because you want to eat what you want to eat. Thank you, Mom Rosie. Because you want to eat what you want to eat. But if you are on those medications, again, like I said, make sure you get your protein in. Make sure you're going to see a doctor. This is why a lot of times the doctors don't really give you some of those weight loss pills and shots, because they want to be able to monitor you. And so if you're just going to a clinic and you're just buying it, from the clinic, they're not monitoring you properly. They're not checking your labs. And so if you are going to be on, thank you, Yvette. If you're going to be on any of these type of supplements, what I want you guys to do is make sure at least you go get your labs checked at least every couple months. Don't go too long without getting your labs checked, because it's super important. So again, if you want to do it, it's fine. It's all right. I just want you to be educated about what you need to do to make sure that you maintain healthy hair in the process. Okay. So I hope this helped somebody. I hope you guys got something out of this. Just a little bit of knowledge for you guys about this. So, all right, guys, I'll see y'all again. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next. I think I'm going to talk about hormones. And I think I'm going to talk about female pattern baldness and male pattern baldness next. So if there's any topics that you guys want to know, or anything that you feel like people need to know about, y'all shoot them, inbox me, and let's have the conversation. All right. So I love y'all. Have a good night.